What happened to my Liverpool? You said that they were going to win FA Cup on Friday, and now they are eliminated. This was a wild one against Manchester United.
Well, first of all, I'm obviously very sorry that I've let you down personally, and your team aren't through to the semi-finals of the FA Cup. I take it all, I take the responsibility. I accept. But I was just looking at the results, and it hadn't dawned on me until this morning. Other than Manchester City against Newcastle, all of those games were completely and utterly and gloriously bonkers. They're absolutely crazy games. Goals flying in all over the place. Stories left, right and centre. It was only Manchester City's, if you like, fairly routine 2-0 win over Newcastle United, which I have to say they achieved by putting most of their, if you like, I don't like using the word reserves or non-regular starters in the starting lineup. But the other games were just absolutely crazy. I mean, Wolves were winning 2-1 after 90 minutes and they lose 3-2. Leicester City got it back to 2-2 in the second half, having been 2-0 down. They got it back to 2-2 despite only having had one shot on target. So talk me through that. And then, to be honest with you, the game at Old Trafford yesterday was just fantastic. I mean, that's got to be in easily the top 3 Manchester United Liverpool games of all time. It was absolutely epic. And I don't think you can criticise whoever had won that game. I don't think you can criticise either side. It was just wonderful to watch. It was roller coaster, you name it. Try out all the old cliches. This game had it. It was a fabulous affair, which, and when you end up with the most unlikely of heroes getting sent off for scoring a goal, that probably sums up just how mad this game was. Rashford, who had plenty of chances in the game, he probably scored with the most difficult chance that he had. Yeah. And look at that. I mean, just wonderful, wonderful. And I love the fact he said afterwards, I'd forgotten about the first booking, and that's why I was sent off. Honestly, I thought it was a terrific, if you like, it was a fabulous advert for the world's oldest cup competition. Mm-hmm. The fact he can still throw up stories in this day and age, it was brilliant. Loved it.
It was an epic, Geoff. It was an odyssey of a game. It felt never-ending. It felt like it had to go to extreme distances to finally get the final product, which was a 4-3 banger. We were talking a couple segments ago about Ten Hag that said this might be our turning point. It feels like every big match that United wins every so often. I mean, they won the League Cup last year, and we said this might be the turning point. It feels like we often find the soccer narrative finds itself telling itself this might be the turning point for United. Was there anything different in this game that proved so?
I think, Nico, I mean, what was interesting about his quote, he said, not only said this might be the turning moment of the season, we haven't had one so far. Now, obviously, you can't have a turning moment if you've already had one. But I think what he was saying is there have been other opportunities for for a turning moment in the season, but they haven't grasped them. They haven't taken it on board in terms of seizing the momentum at any point. Did we see anything different? You could argue that we perhaps saw a United team that refused to be cowed, a team that showed real belief, if you like, refusal to lay down and die, no matter what the game threw at them. I mean, he was just absolutely fabulous, wasn't he? Alejandro Garnacho, absolutely wonderful. And regardless what the game threw up, no matter how the scoring went, I mean, don't forget, Liverpool were in the lead in the first period of extra time. I mean, the game, Bruno Fernandes, he ended up finishing the game playing at centre-back. So you've got to give Ten Hag credit for his substitutions as well. I just love the way they stood up. I love the way that they realised if you like, the magnitude of the occasion. This is full house, Old Trafford, and this is Liverpool. A huge game, and whatever adversity came their way, they dealt with it. It was a wonderful display of spirit, if you like, and no little ability too. And they just Whether or not they realised, look, this is the last chance of silverware this season, got to get something out of it, but they absolutely did. I thought they were terrific value.
This whole competition, I think, has just been revitalized by this round. In particular, the match Coventry City going to the Molineux. You know, a massive derby, right? The Midlands derby. And what an absolute insane. In particular, I don't know if you have any experience interviewing their coach, Mark Robins, but maybe you could talk a little bit about just the job this man has done going there in 2017 when they were in dire straits, League Two, to where they are now and the way they are playing. What an absolute massive game.
Used to be in the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, he's done a great job. I mean, talk about the stories that the FA Cup throws. Alexis, as you probably know, Mark Robins is widely credited as the man who saved Sir Alex Ferguson's career at Old Trafford. It was 4 years in, and they were going nowhere. And it was an FA Cup tie, and it was against, it was Nottingham Forest, and Mark Robins scored a header. And had they gone out of the FA Cup at that point, they were saying that Fergie would have lost his job. So there is a huge connection between Mark Robins and Manchester United. Look, you know, he took them to the playoffs, don't forget. They were beaten by Luton. He's done an exceptional job. They sold arguably their best player last season. I like the way they play. Again, but we saw at the weekend, the brio, the spirit, the fight in the game. It was just... Watching that game unfold, the momentum, it was beyond seesaw. It was... you just can't write this stuff. If you say, look, this is what is going to happen, this is how it will finish. And what a moment for that young man. And I agree with Nigel. I heard you just now say, look, he really has announced himself on the world stage with that goal, because that goes right around the world. He might be already an international footballer, but that will make him famous internationally for the rest of his life.
Couldn't put that any better myself, Geoff, mate. Let's move it on to the Prem, mate. Let's talk about the sensational performance by Fulham, giving Tottenham an absolute spanking. What was your thought on that game?
I like the way you phrased that, Nigel, because as you could probably imagine, all the headlines here is about Tottenham losing. It's all about, you know, how big a blow is this for their top four aspirations. No, Fulham were terrific on the day. You know, that they were, I mean, Anthony Robinson said after the game, he said, I think that's easily our best performance of the season. And I don't think you could disagree with them. They tore them apart. You know, right from the get-go, they went after them. They were really, really, and that's his first goal since he's been at the club, so he'll be delighted with that. Honestly, I thought Fulham were full value for the win, and I don't think Spurs really had any complaints. They couldn't match them. They couldn't match them for movement. They couldn't match them for tactical nous, if you like. They were below the levels that Ange has set Tottenham, and you simply can't do that in the Premier League. If you're not at your best, you'll get found out. They played some great stuff this season, but on the day at Craven Cottage, they weren't up to the job, and Fulham took full advantage.